Democrat Doug Jones made headlines last Tuesday, winning the election for U.S. Senate in Alabama. This morning, the senator-elect has some questions to answer from Manuel Bojorquez.
Even after Roy Moore faced multiple accusations of sexual misconduct, some involving teenagers, many political experts thought the Republican, who rode his horse in to cast his vote last week, could still ride off to victory. But they didn't ask Doug Jones.
Thank you!
So let's go to the headline here. Alabama has not sent a Democrat to the Senate in 25 years. How did you do it?
People forget that, a Republican didn't send anybody to the Senate for over 100 years before that changed. And it changes one election at a time.
But do you think you would have won had the Washington Post not broken the story about the sexual misconduct allegations against Roy Moore?
Yeah, I think we would have beaten him. We were getting traction. We were being inclusive and talking about issues that people care about.
His stunning win in deep red Alabama came by about 20,000 votes.
Doug Jones, the Democrat, he will be the next United States Senator from Alabama.
That slim margin of victory thanks to Republicans who rejected Moore with write-in votes and a significant turnout by African Americans.
So let's talk about your victory speech. You got up there and said, I feel like I've been waiting my whole life.
I have been waiting all my life, and now I just don't know what the hell to say.
Is it because you were so surprised, shocked?
No, I was just kind of overcome. It was just being out on that stage and seeing that little sea of people, that when you look across there, it represented Alabama.
So who is Doug Jones? The 63-year-old grew up in Fairfield, Alabama, when the South was still segregated. His interest in social justice led him to become a lawyer. In 1997, he was appointed U.S. Attorney, and he decided to take on a case that had been unresolved for decades.
Justice delayed is still justice.
You prosecuted two of the Klansmen involved in the 1963 church bombing that killed 4 African-American girls. That was a prominent part of this campaign as well, and it seemed to have resonated.
It did. It was important for everyone in the state. When you're on the right side of history, you can accomplish a lot of things.
Prosecuting that case earned him comparisons to another Alabama attorney, Atticus Finch, the moral hero in the classic novel To Kill a Mockingbird.
How do you feel about that comparison?
Well, I mean, that's incredibly flattering, and I've got a book sitting right over there, To Kill a Mockingbird, autographed by Harper Lee, and she put on there to Doug Jones, with admiration. That's a real prize.
Wow.
Yeah.
With admiration.
With admiration.
But Jones says he's still a red state Democrat.
This right here is proof that you do hunt.
That was my one shot I took last year, and 300 yards, and that 8-point fell.
He's a gun owner and strong Second Amendment supporter. And while he would not vote for the current GOP tax bill, he does favor lowering the corporate tax rate. He says his win is proof his sweet home Alabama wants more from politicians.
One of your supporters who was out canvassing, we interviewed him. He said this is old Alabama versus new Alabama.
I think that's a good description.
What is old Alabama?
Old Alabama is nothing but divisive politics, demagogues that try to divide us. We are still living with all of the images in black and white and of the George Wallace era and the Roy Moores, to be honest with you. I am here for all people, and Alabama is changing. Alabama is getting more diverse every day.
That's the new Alabama.
That's the new Alabama.
And realize when the vote is this close that it's not over.
While he still hasn't heard from Roy Moore, Jones says he got a gracious phone call from President Trump, congratulating him on election night, and says he knows, even in victory, he now has a lot of Alabamians to win over.
I can work with the president, I can work with people in my own party, and when I talk about reaching across the aisle, there's probably a fair amount of issues I want to reach inside the Democratic caucus to try to pull them in a little bit more to make sure that they know that the people of Alabama might need a little bit different direction.
That sounds great, but given the current political climate, is it possible?
It's as possible as a snow in December in Alabama or a long shot Democrat getting elected from a deep red state.